Okay, so you know how you think you've done everything to keep your kids safe? You buy all the right gadgets, all the safety
Yeah.
stuff, you baby-proof everything,
Uh-huh.
but then something unthinkable happens anyway.
It's every parent's worst nightmare.
Exactly. And today we're going deep into one of these truly awful stories. Um, a 3-year-old little boy named Kai Bernabe, he drowned in his family's pool.
Oh, God.
And it was just so awful how it happened. His parents, they had a lock, one of those special locks on their sliding glass door leading out to the pool.
The kind that are supposed to be childproof?
Yeah, they thought they were being so careful. You know what I mean?
Of course. They were trying to do everything right.
But somehow Kai and his twin brother Liam, they got past the lock.
It makes you wonder, like, how does that even happen? What went wrong with that lock?
Well, that's what we're going to try to figure out in this deep dive.
Yeah.
So we've been poring over all the news reports, legal documents, everything we can find about this case to try to understand it better.
A lot of this stuff is really technical, too, so we'll try to break it down so it makes sense.
Yeah. And, as always, we want to know what you think, too. So as we go through all of this, keep those questions in mind. Hit us up on social media with your thoughts, because this is like a story that it just really gets to you.
It really does. It makes you think about all the assumptions we make about safety.
Yeah. So yeah, to set the scene, this happened back in April of 2023
Okay.
in Porter Ranch, California.
Uh-huh.
And the family involved is Mark Bernabe and Jasmine Coleman Kai and Liam's parents.
So hard.
She was devastated, right? It was supposed to be, just a normal afternoon. The twins were put down for a nap.
Routine, you think?
Exactly. The
Right.
parents had that sliding glass door locked, secured with what they thought was a childproof device.
I think a lot of parents would feel secure in that situation.
Yeah.
You've got the lock,
You think you're good, you've done what you can.
Uh-huh.
But then, as we said, things went terribly wrong.
So what exactly happened? How did the boys get out?
So they woke up from their nap a little early. Okay.
And they somehow got a chair.
A chair!
Yeah, they pushed a chair over to the door, and they were able to climb up and mess with the lock enough to get it open. I mean, it's unbelievable when you think about it.
3-year-olds figuring out how to defeat a child safety lock.
It's mind-blowing. I mean, it makes you question the design of these things.
Right, it really does.
Yeah.
Like, how can something marketed as childproof be bypassed by, children?
And that's a huge part of what the lawsuit is about.
Oh, right, the lawsuit.
Yeah, so after this happened, after Kai drowned, the family is suing both Amazon, where they bought the lock,
Okay.
and the company that makes the lock.
What was the name of that company again?
It's called Okafan.
Okifam. Okay.
And their argument basically is that the lock was just not designed well enough to actually be childproof.
Which is kind of ironic when you think about it.
Yeah, and that this bad design directly led to Kai's death.
And Liam almost dying too, right? We can't forget he was in the deep end.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, it's a miracle that he survived.
Yeah. And the lawsuit really digs into the language that Amazon used to sell this lock. They were saying things like durable and effective.
Setting up those expectations.
Exactly. And get this, they even said, this kid's stopper has been proven to withstand the pulls and tugs of babies and children. I mean,
Wow.
I know, right?
And of course, the parents believed those claims. That's why they bought it.
Absolutely. They trusted that it would do what it said it would do.
So are they saying that Amazon knew the lock wasn't safe?
Well, that's part of what they're trying to prove. The lawsuit alleges that there were already complaints about this lock before this tragedy even happened.
Like from other parents saying their kids could get past it too.
Exactly. And they're claiming that Amazon just ignored those red flags.
That's not good.
No, it's not. And it raises some serious questions about how Amazon monitors the safety of the stuff they sell, especially when it comes to stuff for kids.
Makes you wonder if they rely too much on those third-party sellers.
Yeah, and then there's Okifan, the manufacturer.
Right. What about them?
Well, the lawsuit paints a pretty concerning picture.
Like, what do you mean?
So their website, apparently it's like super vague.
Really?
Yeah, and it's got all this broken English and very little contact information,
So it's hard to even know who they are.
pretty much. It almost feels like they're trying to be invisible.
Especially for a company making child safety products. That's really sketchy.
And then there's Amazon's response.
Which is,
Well, so far they're denying any responsibility.
of course they are.
Right. They're basically saying, hey, we had no reason to think this lock was unsafe.
But what about those complaints?
Yeah, well, they haven't really addressed that directly yet. They've also hinted that maybe the parents didn't use the lock properly.
Oh, come on, really? Shifting the blame?
Yeah, it's not a good look. But hey, it's a legal strategy, right?
I guess so.
So the family is seeking at least $2 million in damages,
I can't even imagine what they're going through.
and they want a jury trial. So this is going to drag on for a while. The preliminary hearing isn't until May 2nd of next year.
That's a long time to wait for answers.
It is. But this case, it's going to be huge. I mean, it could really change how online marketplaces are held accountable for the safety of the things they sell.
It's about time someone challenges that.
I agree. It's
Yeah.
like they've been getting away with murder for too long.
That might be a bit strong, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but beyond the legal stuff, this case just it brings up so many important points about parental vigilance and the trust we put in these safety products.
Right. Even if you do everything right, things can still go wrong.
Exactly. It's like safety devices. They're just an extra layer of protection.
Look at backup, not the main thing you should be relying on.
Exactly. You can't let your guard down. Just because you have a lock on the door doesn't mean your kid can't find a way around it.
Especially toddlers. They're like little escape artists.
Seriously. And we have to think about the parents here. They did what they thought was right.
Yeah, they were trying to keep their kids safe. It's not their fault.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. But I'm sure they're just racked with guilt and what ifs.
Of course. You can't help but think that way after something like this.
And it makes you wonder, like, how are online marketplaces supposed to really ensure that the things they're selling are safe? Especially when it's something as important as a child safety device.
It's a tough question because they have so many sellers. It's not like they can test every single product.
True. But they also have a responsibility to protect their customers.
Right, and maybe they need to do a better job of vetting those sellers.
Yeah, and listening to customer feedback. If people are complaining about a product, saying it's dangerous.
Especially if it's about safety. Then they need to take that seriously.
Absolutely. And this case really gets to the heart of that whole issue of trust in online shopping.
We're so used to just clicking and buying without really thinking about it.
And we assume that these big companies are doing their due diligence.
But are they? That's the question.
That's the question. And this case is a really tragic reminder that sometimes that trust is misplaced.
So what can we do? I mean, as consumers,
That's a good question. I think it starts with being more aware. Like really researching the products we're
or
buying.
just relying on the marketing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look at reviews, see if there are any safety concerns. And don't be afraid to contact the manufacturer directly.
If something seems off.
Yeah, and I think we also need to push for more regulation of online marketplaces.
Hold them accountable.
Yeah, they need to be held to a higher standard,
Right.
especially when it comes to products that are supposed to keep our kids safe.
Definitely. And on a more hopeful note, I
Mhm.
did want to mention that there has been a lot of support for the family.
Oh yeah, the GoFundMe.
Yeah. It's raised almost $80,000 so far.
It's amazing how people come together in times like this.
It shows you that there's still good in the world.
It does. So, yeah, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just recap what we talked about.
Okay.
This tragic drowning of little Kai Bernabe. It just highlights so many things, the importance of parental vigilance.
Even when you think you've taken all the precautions.
Right, and the whole issue of trusting safety products versus understanding that accidents can still happen.
And the responsibility of these online giants like Amazon,
To make sure that what they're selling is actually safe.
especially when it's something meant to protect children.
So yeah, I guess our final thought for everyone listening is this. Think about this case and how it applies to your own life.
What steps can you take to be more aware of the potential dangers,
And to advocate for better safety standards.
both online and in your own home,
Because ultimately it's up to all of us to keep our kids safe.
and to learn from these tragedies so hopefully they don't happen again?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.